I've been experimenting with pizza lately, and I wanted to come up with a pizza crust that was both gluten-free and keto-friendly. In other words, low in carbohydrates. Perfect timing. Train going by. Because someone had suggested frozen pizza crust, cauliflower pizza crust, which they sell in the store. I looked at the stores, they have them, but they're very high in carbohydrates. They're gluten-free for people who are gluten intolerant, but they're not keto-friendly for those who are on a keto diet. Someone who is a fan of my YouTube channel suggested something called fathead pizza crust. Had never heard of it. So what do? You get online, you do some research, and I found some recipes. This works very well, and it's easy too. So that's what I want to do today is I'm going to make a fathead pizza crust, and then I'm going to use that to make a really simple pepperoni pizza for myself. So let's make this fathead pizza crust. This crust is made mostly with cheese. What I have here is 1.5 cups. I weighed this, it came in at about 6¼ ounces or 175 grams. This is shredded mozzarella cheese. Put that in there. The volume is going to depend upon whether this is coarsely shredded, whether you coarsely shred it or fine shred it. That's why I did the weight. And what I have here is 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. You could use ricotta cheese. Some people do. This weighed 1 ounce, 28 grams. Gonna put that in there. Okay. And then I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 1 minute till the cheese starts to melt. I'll give it a bit of a stir, and then I'm going to microwave it for another 30 seconds. I want to get it soft enough, melted enough that I can blend those cheeses together. If you don't have a microwave, an alternative could be to heat some water in a pan till it starts to boil, and then carefully, so that you don't get burned, hold a metal bowl, like a stainless steel bowl, over the pan with the cheeses in it, and as that warms and the cheeses start to melt, stir them together. So this now is pretty well melted. It's not fully liquid yet. There's some solid there. Smells good too, mozzarella cheese. So I'm going to just spread that around. And then again, I said I'm going to microwave this for 30 seconds. So there it is. That's pretty good liquid there. You can blend that fairly well. Then I have 3/4 cup, which weigh 2 3/4 ounces or 80 grams. This is almond flour, which is ground almonds. There's no flour in there, no gluten. It's just finely ground almonds. And then I have 1 egg that I beat with a fork, just to mix it up. And then the trick is to try to blend all of this together. And one video I saw said it's easier if you use an electric mixer. I don't have an electric mixer, but what I do have is a drill that I put a beater on. Hey, it works. You use what you have, right? This works very well. I've done this. And I can reverse it. If you find that it's too stiff to mix together, I think that was the problem with using that drill, put it back in the microwave for 10 to 15 seconds. And you can use your hands to knead this to get it smooth. But I'm just going to use a rubber spatula because that'll be okay. A silicone spatula, actually. Okay. There's my dough. I put down a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to shape a crust about the size of my pizza pan here. So I want to take this out. And then you can shape it with your hands. If you want to wet your hands, it'll be less sticky. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a second piece of parchment paper on top. and start shaping it this way until I get this into a fairly thin layer. Using my hands is a good way to start. And then what I have is a pastry roller thing. It's got a kind of a rounded roller on one end and this flat one on the other. And I find that this works very well. And I should tell you that in the meantime, I'm heating my oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 220 degrees Celsius. So there it is. I got this shaped. I knew what I needed about the size of my pizza pan. Oh, and one thing I did, a little trick, is every once in a while I held it up to the light, and I could tell by the light that went through it whether there were thick spots, thin spots. When I saw thick spots, I could roll those thinner, and the thin spots I could add more thickness to that to try to get it as evenly distributed as possible. I'm going to peel this top off. And then the directions say to poke it all over with a fork to make holes so that steam can get out so that it won't bubble up very much. But I got something to show you. I'm going to do an unboxing clip here because unboxing videos are really popular on YouTube. I just got this other day in the mail. Ta-da! Okay, that wasn't much of an unboxing video, but this is called a docker. And I called a friend and I asked him, do you know what a docker is? He said, yeah, that's that thing that looks like a torture device. Yeah, he knows what a docker is. So I'm going to use my docker, otherwise known as a torture device, to poke holes in there. And then I'm going to put that on my pizza pan. I'm going to bake this for 8 minutes. I'm going to look to see how much rising up I'm going to get, because it still could bubble in places. Press it down with a fork and then continue baking it for maybe another 10-15 minutes until it looks nicely browned on top, but 8 minutes to start. Now I'm going to make pizza, as I said, and I'm going to need some pizza sauce. Spaghetti sauce, when you buy it in the jar, is a little bit too watery. At least I think so. You can cook it down, but if you're not pressed for time, what I did yesterday was I put a coffee filter in a funnel, put some sauce in there, covered it with plastic, and then let it drip overnight to get the excess water out. And it's a little bit better, I think, a little bit easier than trying to cook this down. So there's my first bake of the crust out of the oven. I'm seeing a little bit of puffiness right here and over here. But other than that, that looks pretty good. That docker worked pretty well. All right, and I'm just seeing some browning around the edges. I'm going to return this back to the oven for another maybe 10 minutes. I'm going to start watching it. I want to see it nicely browned all over. And what some people do, and I haven't tried this yet, is once it starts to brown, they'll flip it over and then they'll brown the other side. There it is, nicely browned. I want to try flipping this over the way some of them said to do it. So, I'm going to put this on there, a cooling rack, put that on top, flip my pan over onto it. Make sure that I have this where I want it. Okay. I'm using some gloves to protect my fingers. Flip it over. Set the cooling rack aside. Beautiful. And then return that to the oven. I had baked that 4 minutes on the other side, so I'm going to bake it another 4 minutes on this side, 4 to 5 minutes, till I see it nicely browned. So there it is, again, lightly browned. That was 7 minutes to get that to there. And for those of you who wondered how big I shaped this, my pan is about right for a 13-inch pizza crust, and that's about 33 centimeters, and there was a little bit of shrinking in the oven. All right, that's done. That's ready to dress any which way you like. I'm going to put some sauce on there. Here's the sauce. And I don't like a lot of sauce on my pizza. And you might have also noticed that I didn't put any salt in my ingredients as far as the crust, because I don't like too much salt. And this sauce that I'm using has no sugar in it. That's why I selected it in the store. It's low in carbohydrates. That should be good enough. Again, I don't like a lot of sauce. I don't want it dripping with sauce, but I want to be able to taste it. Okay, that's that. Then I have some oregano here, and this is actually from my garden. This is fresh oregano, which is going to be a little bit stronger than dried oregano. So I'm not going to get too heavy-handed with the oregano. There's maybe a half dozen little oregano leaves here that I chopped up. That's good enough. Some more mozzarella cheese. Sprinkle this around the top. Put a lot more on there if you like a really thick, cheesy pizza. With all the cheese that's in the crust, I figured I don't need a lot of cheese here. Okay, that should be good enough. And then what I like to do with pizza is just sprinkle a little bit of olive oil on the top. This was done in the Italian pizzerias where I grew up in New England. And then finally, I'm going to put some pepperoni on top. This is sandwich slice pepperoni. It's really big. So I quartered these, and I'm going to distribute these pieces around the top. I don't need a whole lot. Again, more for the flavor. A little bit here and there. This is exciting me. I love pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? That's ready to go back into the oven. So there is my pizza finally out of the oven. This was in there for 9 minutes. What I wanted to see was more browning around the edges and that cheese on top melted and just starting to brown. So I'm going to let this cool now for about 10 minutes. I think what I'm going to do is take the pan out so this can cool off a little bit better, just so that I can cut it. What I'm using, by the way, I think these are pizza grippers. They sell them on pizza pan grippers. They sell them on Amazon. There. It makes it really easy to grip a hot pan. So there is my pizza. I'm going to cut into this. Cut a slice for myself. Beautiful, thin crust pizza. Put that on a plate. And then I'll get to see what that tastes like. Isn't that beautiful? That is certainly a thin crust pizza. Looks good though. Tastes good. Tastes like pizza. Okay, it's almost 2:30, a little too late for lunch and a little too early for dinner, so excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy an afternoon snack of Fathead Pizza.